cannot breathe. I don't know where they're going. I just know I woke up in this fucking truck.
The audio you just heard was Arcola, NBA YoungBoy's baby mama, pleading for help during a kidnapping. From 6ix9ine, whose mother was abducted, to Trey the Truth, whose daughter was snatched after being dropped off. This video breaks down rappers whose families were targeted by their ops. We begin with a tragic case of Young Lay.
Your girlfriend was killed and your baby was kidnapped.
The story of Young Lay is one of the most heartbreaking chapters in Bay Area rap history. On May 17, 1996, 17-year-old Daphne Marie Don, an honor student and a new mother, was brutally murdered inside her grandmother's home in Vallejo, California. She was shot multiple times in the head and chest. To cover up the crime, the attacker set the house on fire, hoping to erase any trace of what they had done. But before fleeing, they took something even more chilling. As the flames spread, the killers walked out carrying Daphne's 3 to 4 week old baby boy, Legion to Maria Williams, and vanished into the night. Witnesses later reported seeing 2 teenage girls leaving the scene with a small bundle in their arms while smoke poured from a house. That moment marked the last confirmed sighting of the infant for more than 6 years. At the time, Young Lay was behind bars. He learned about Daphne's murder and his son's disappearance from inside prison, completely powerless. He couldn't search, couldn't investigate, couldn't even be there. All he was a fragile hope, the belief that somehow, somewhere, his son was still alive.
And guess what? He called me this morning.
That's what's up.
I saw him.
The perpetrator behind the crime were not street rivals or enemies from a different camp. They were teenage girls. At the center of it all was 15-year-old Latasha Brown, the ex-girlfriend of Young Lay, who had become consumed by jealousy after Daphne gave birth to his child. For months, Brown had been telling people that she was the baby's mother, and reports suggest she may have been experiencing pseudocyesis, a psychological condition in which someone falsely believes they are pregnant. She wasn't alone in carrying out the attack. Her cousin, Oyinetta Williams, assisted her, and after the crime, Brown's own mother, Dolores and Brown, helped conceal the child. For more than 6 years, Legion was raised just 2 miles away from the site of his mother's murder, living under a false name with a forged birth certificate, as if nothing had ever happened. The case eventually gained national attention and was featured on America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. In November 2002, an anonymous tip led Vallejo police directly to Latasha Brown, who was then 22 years old and had been raising Legion as her own child the entire time. DNA testing confirmed his true identity, and at just 6 years old, Legion was finally recovered and reunited with his biological family, bringing an end to a years-long nightmare.
See, I have good news and I have bad news. I said, what's the good news? Because I'm already in jail. What can be worse than...
Latasha Brown was convicted in 2004 of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and arson, receiving a sentence of 37 years to life, and her appeal was denied in 2006. Young Lay had already honored his missing son years earlier by naming his 1998 album Unsolved Mysteries, long before his story was ever featured on a television show with the same name. In January 2026, a TV One documentary revisited the entire case and included his first public comments in over 25 years, where he revealed that his son had called him that very morning. Something so powerful, it didn't need any more words. Then there's Big Akin and Kamaya Moley, 18 years, not days or months, but a full 18 years before a father could finally hold his daughter for the first time. Kamaya was born on July 10, 1998, at University Medical Center in Jacksonville, Florida, to a 15-year-old mother, while her father, Craig Akin, was incarcerated on drug charges at the exact moment she entered the world. Just 8 hours after taking her first breath, she was gone. A woman named Gloria Williams, dressed in hospital scrubs and a floral smock and fully convincing in her role, had spent time earlier building trust with the young mother, then calmly walked out of hospital carrying the newborn as if she belonged there, while staff assumed she was family, and no alarm was raised until it was far too late.
She said, your daughter Kamaya was born at 7 pounds, 8 ounces. So I asked her what the bad news was. She said, your daughter was kidnapped. As far as I knew about kidnapping, it don't happen on TV and movies. It did a lot to me in there because I felt like I didn't do my job to protect her or Kamaya.
Craig Akin learned that he had become a father and that his daughter had been kidnapped on the very same day, all while sitting inside a jail cell. And when an officer approached him, he asked to hear the good news first, completely unaware of the devastating reality that would follow.
I don't know, it was like breathtaking. Like, you know, I swear she looked to me like Shannara. She just looked beautiful.
Gloria Williams had recently gone through miscarriage while trapped in an abusive relationship, and in an attempt to fill that emotional void, she took the baby and made her own reality. She forged documents, created a completely false identity, and raised Kamaya Moley in Walterboro, South Carolina under the name Alexis Kelly Manigault for 18 uninterrupted years. In January 2017, when Kamaya turned 18 and tried to apply for a job that required official identification, documents Williams refused to provide, the truth finally began to unravel. A tip reached investigators, and DNA testing confirmed everything. She was alive. She was safe. And after nearly 2 decades, she was finally coming home.
Oh man, you just can't give up. You know, some.
Gloria Williams was sentenced to 18 years in prison in June 2018, and her request to have that sentence reduced was denied in 2022. Craig Akin later released a music video titled Self-Therapy, featuring his daughter as part of their healing journey, while the story was also adapted into Stolen by My Mother, the Kamaya Moley story in 2020, telling the story of a child taken within hours of her birth who finally returned home 18 years later. Then there's Trey the Truth. For years, he has been one of the most community-driven figures in Houston rap, showing up where it matters most, whether that meant bringing food trucks into disaster zones, giving away toys during Christmas out of his own pocket, or quietly helping people without any spotlight. He built his entire reputation around protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. But in the summer of 2024, that same man found himself facing something he couldn't control. Trey had sole legal and primary physical custody of his 6-year-old daughter, Truth Thompson, after years of custody battles with her mother, Heather Cuevas, who was only granted limited visitation. On August 16, 2024, he dropped his daughter off for what was supposed to be a routine weekend visit. He hugged her, kissed her, and told her he'd see her on Sunday. But Sunday came, and she never returned. Her mother disappeared completely, abandoning her apartment, her vehicles, and cutting off all communication, vanishing off the grid with his daughter. The case quickly escalated, with the FBI, U.S. Marshals, Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office, the Black and Missing Foundation, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children all launching a coordinated search. In September, investigators tracked him to Los Angeles, but had to pull back due to safety concerns. For months, through holidays, through sleepless nights, Trey had no idea where his daughter was, what she was going through, or what she had been told about him, left only with uncertainty and fear as time kept passing.
It was like 8 in the morning, and the U.S. Marshal said, we found her. We need you to get out here.
New Year's Day, 2025, 8 o'clock in the morning. The situation involving Truth was first traced to El Centro, California, near the U.S. Mexico border. Quas was later arrested there on child endangerment charges. Trey left almost immediately after hearing the news. He was out the door in under 20 minutes, headed to the airport, flying into San Diego, and then driving more than 100 miles to the California desert to reach his daughter. As of mid-2025, Truth is reportedly in therapy and recovering day by day alongside her father. By his own words, she now runs a house in a lighthearted way. He even bought her a goat, saying each morning reminds him why he never stopped fighting. Not for a single day. This case involving Jamal White Jr. is much more recent. It was captured clearly on surveillance footage in broad daylight and has raised serious questions about public safety. On July 11, 2025, around 7 p.m., 7-year-old Jamal White Jr. was riding his bicycle outside his father's home near 61st and Huss Street in Milwaukee's Herrick Park neighborhood. A white Jeep Renegade began circling the block, returned a second time, and then pulled into the driveway. 2 masked men got out of the vehicle, one appearing to carry a handgun. They forcibly took the child while he was screaming for his father, placed him in the back of the Jeep, and fled eastbound at high speed. His father, Jamal White Sr., an aspiring local rapper known online as Mal785, was nearby when it happened, Security footage shows him rushing into the house as the suspects arrive, then coming back out moments later in shock and distress as the vehicle was already gone. In the aftermath, he described the moment online, saying he initially thought it was a robbery and not an abduction involving his child. His aunt, Simone White, issued public appeals for information, stating the family had no clear motive and was desperate for answers. Investigators later reported that the original intent may have been a robbery targeting the boy's mother due to alleged associations. But when that plan failed, the suspect instead went to father's home and abducted Jamal Jr., later demanding $100,000 in valuables in exchange for his return. On July 12, 2025, less than 24 hours later, Jamal White Jr. was found alive about 7 miles from where he had been taken. 3 suspects were charged, including a 14-year-old Barry Coleman, who was charged as an adult with bail set at $100,000. A judge noted on record that the entire city of Milwaukee had been effectively shaken by the incident. Simone White later thanked the community for its support, saying that without public involvement, they might not have found him. The case highlighted both the danger of the situation and the rapid response that ultimately helped bring the child home safely. The narrative then shifts toward Tekashi 69, often referenced in discussions about fame, visibility, and the personal risks tied to a highly public and controversial public image.
The reality of it, right, is that it was somebody that lives in the community because there was no car that came in, no car that came out.
On the night of November 16, 2025, masked, armed intruders broke into Tekashi 69's home in the Wellington area of Palm Beach County, Florida. All 4 were dressed in black and reportedly entered the garage before moving quickly inside the property. The first person they encountered was Tekashi's 60-year-old mother, Natividad Perez Hernandez. She was taken outside at gunpoint and restrained while the group moved through the house. The intruders proceeded to loot the residence, taking a $25,000 diamond necklace, designer earrings, luxury handbags, cash, and other high-value items, with total losses estimated in the tens of thousands of dollars. They fled the scene before law enforcement arrived. Although she was not physically injured, the emotional impact of the incident was significant given the threat she faced inside her own home. Tekashi was not present during the break-in, as he was reportedly live streaming with YouTuber Jack Doherty at the time. Security footage later obtained by TMZ showed the intruders' movements inside the property and how they handled his mother during the robbery.